If I apply the surrealist approach, I can summon up these unconscious forces. This, for me, was a call to Africa. It's true that superficially we are French. We have been branded by Cartesian philosophy. But if we break with all of that, if we plumb the depths, then what we will find is fundamentally black. To start the revolution, the real one, break. Seize in ourselves the immediate Negro. Plant our negritude like a beautiful tree so that it can bear its most authentic fruit.
Paris, 1935. These are the words of a young Martinican coining negritude for the first time. Negritude, a term of defiance, a reaction of enraged youth, a literary and philosophical movement to cultivate pride in African culture, until then absent from the history of civilization, a continent derided as barbaric to justify colonial violence and exploitation.
My negritude is neither tower nor cathedral. It takes root in the red flesh of the soil. It takes root in the ardent flesh of the sky.
That young writer was Aime Cesaire. He had recently arrived in Paris, a city in vogue, a nexus for black artists, musicians, poets. Paris, self-appointed symbol of freedom, revolution, civilization, and yet the beating heart of empire, built on colonialism and slavery.
And this country shouted for centuries that we are brute beasts. The pulsing of humanity stops at the entrance of the slave compound. And they used to brand us with red-hot irons, and we used to sleep in our excrement, and they would sell us in public.
It was in this metropolis that Césaire met students from other French colonies. Léon Gontran Damas, from French Guyana, and Léopold Sédar Senghor, future president of Senegal. Part of a Creole elite at once subject to, and the earliest critics of, French assimilation. The idea that black people would free themselves of barbarism if they took on French customs, by renouncing their own histories, languages, voices, ironically in the name of progress.
But who twists my voice? Who scratches my voice? Stuffing 1,000 bamboo fangs down my throat, 1,000 sea urchin steaks. It is you, dirty old piece of world. Dirty old dawn, you dirty old hate. It is you, the weight of insults and of 100 years of whiplashes.
A black cultural scene began to flourish in Paris. The Clamart Tea Shop, a literary salon run by the Nadal sisters, black, women, intellectuals, at the forefront of the Negritude movement. Diasporic influences stirred. The Harlem Renaissance, a new celebration of African-American culture. Connections emerged. The poetry of Langston Hughes, the literature of Claude Maquet. People for once portrayed with literary dignity. Journals, books, anthologies. La Revue du Monde Noir, L'Étudiant Noir, Présence africaine, Tropique. From there emerged the black aesthetic, a movement that took on the colonizer's own language to denounce Western myth of civilization, a fight in French against French, inspired by African narrative traditions, songs, folktales, rhythms.
And you ghosts rise blue from alchemy, from a forest of hunted beasts, of twisted machines, of a jujube tree, of rotten flesh, of a basket of oysters, of eyes, of a network of straps in the beautiful sisal of human skin. I would have words vast enough to contain you, earth, taught, earth drunk.
Negritude, the beginnings of black surrealism, plumbing the unconscious, Language turned to the weird and dreamlike. Syntax cracked, as if to expose the violent logic of Western rationalism itself in a rallying cry for liberation. Negritude, a literary movement that emerged in the capital of the Enlightenment and modernity, only to expose it as a cover for capitalism's dependence on racist exploitation. In the decades to come, as revolts mounted and empires caved, Negritude itself echoed around Africa, Latin America, the Caribbean. Independence movements, Pan-African solidarities, civil rights, Black power.
And the great black hole where I wanted to drown a moon ago, this is where I now want to fish the night's malevolent tongue in its immobile revolution.